Hey everybody, it's Peter B, and I'd like to make a video to acknowledge Dan, Vintage Baseball PC. He has been doing YouTube videos for 3 years now. So congratulations, Dan. I'm a big fan of your channel. I watch just about every video you do. I love the historical stuff you do. You show very nice cards, and you tell a story not only of the player, but in some cases how you got the card, and I think that's real great. And I also love the collaborations you do, talking to another one about a certain player or a certain team. Those are fantastic videos, and you do a great job. And then you got that other thing where you do a video with some other guy, and not a fan of those, but you already know that. So once again, congratulations, Dan. I know you want us to show one card, but I got to show how I got there. So I started collecting in 1969. I had a brown grocery market shopping bag halfway filled with 69 baseball cards. I'm assuming they were from series 1, 2, and 3. I didn't get any of the high numbers. I know that for a fact by looking at the players' names. And I had them filled, that shopping bag halfway filled. And myself and my friends, we would actually flip the cards. 3 games we'd play. One is we'd flip it, and whoever got closest to the wall after hitting it, the ricochet closest to the wall, would win all the other cards flipped. We had a game where you had leaners against the wall, and you'd flip them, and the cards you knocked down, you'd get to keep. And we had another one where if you flipped it and it landed on top of a card, you get to keep that card. So that's why I had that shopping bag full. But we also played a lot where we didn't keep them. We were just playing. And that's where my very first card comes in. 1969, Rico Petrocelli. My favorite card and my favorite player back then. Now, you can see I use it a lot in those flipping against the wall games, but I never threw it when it was a keeper game. He always stayed with me. I played with it, but never chanced of losing it to another friend. Now, after the 69 season, when baseball was over, I pulled out all my Red Sox cards, including Rico, and I put them in my drawer in a shoebox. And the rest stayed in that grocery bag. Well, my mother, cleaning one day when I was either at school or outside playing, and she found that bag of beat up baseball cards, and she threw it away. So I can't tell you exactly who I had, but I know I had probably most of the series 1, 2, and 3 cards. But I did keep those original Red Sox cards. I've since upgraded them into nicer condition, but that Rico Petrocelli card is still one of my favorite cards. So in 1976, well, I collected 70. I have a lot of 70s. 71. For some reason, I did not collect 1972s. I can't tell you why. I just didn't have any. So right now, I am working on rectifying that by putting together a 1972 top set. I'm probably maybe 2/3 of the way, and I'm putting them in a binder. And so I'll like to get that completed. And 73 and 74, I went in big time. I got the whole set of 1974. That's when they first started shipping all the cards in one series. And 75, for some reason, I didn't get many. And then I met a friend who was into baseball cards in 1976 through 79, and we got a lot of cards. Well, I didn't know anything about shows, I don't know if there are any stores near me, baseball card shops, but in 1976, we had wiffle ball teams, 2 kids to a team, and we had 4 teams. My friend was the Yankees. His cousin was the Red Sox. One of my other friends were the A's. And I was the 4th team, and I had to be from the American League West. And I knew about the A's. I liked the A's. I liked Catfish Hunter. I liked Reggie. But I looked at the stand-ins in 76, and the Kansas City Royals were on top. So I picked them to be my team. Well, me and my friend on the Kansas City Royals in the wiffle ball series, we played like maybe 5 games against each other team, and we kicked their butt. So the Kansas City Royals won in that first year of the wiffle ball league. Well, I started liking the Kansas City Royals, and I loved George Brett. See, I've always been a third baseman in the Little League days, the high school days. I stopped playing in college. I actually played wiffle ball in college. And then after college, I joined a work team and played third base there. And I played till my 40s. But I always loved playing third base. So George Brett was a third baseman. And he was my favorite player and still is to this day my favorite player. Well, I didn't have the 75. I had the 76, 77, 78, and 79. So I traded my friend's cousin. I gave him a 1970 Roberto Clemente, which was a double, although I didn't tell him that. And I got the 75 George Brett. Now, this ain't the exact card. I do have that card. This is actually a mini and graded. This was long before grading. This is 1976. But I did get the George Brett rookie, which I thought was cool. It's starting to rain here, but I'll stand through the video and I'll keep my cards kind of clean. Well, and I'm getting married, moved to a place that in 1986, the Red Sox were doing very well. They ended up going to the World Series that year, and I was back into baseball again. I long since stopped collecting cards. I didn't collect 80 through 85 because I was off doing things like college and getting married. But in 1986, we lived right down the street from this huge flea market. And so we'd walk to the flea market and looking at all the tables, and I came across guys selling baseball cards. And I thought that was the neatest thing. See, I had no idea about shows, about baseball card shops. I figured if you didn't get those cards, you're out of luck unless you knew someone and traded for them. I didn't know you can go back and get those cards until I got to the flea market. So the first thing I did, picked up any George Brett from 80 to 86. And by that time, Flair and Donruss were out, so I had to get all those as well. And I also got a flyer from one of the dealers that there's a baseball card show. What's this, a baseball card show? It was just in the town over. So one Saturday morning, I went to the baseball card show, and wow, you can get a lot of things I've never seen before at a baseball card show. So I pursued completing the 69 set of cards I didn't have. And any George Brett, any oddball George Brett, I'd pick up. And then I did that for a few months. And then one time I went to this show, probably 25 minutes away. And they had this card. It was a tobacco card. Now, I knew about the T206 Honest Wagner, but that's all I knew about tobacco cards. And I just fell in love with this tobacco card. And this is it right here. This is the card. T206 John McGraw glove at hip. I just had to have it. I thought that it was neat that this card came out of a cigarette pack. I don't smoke. I didn't smoke back then either. But I thought it was cool. It came out of a cigarette pack. And it was like 80 years old at the time. I just thought that was the coolest thing. And little did I know, it actually had a cool back. Tolstoy. I had no idea about backs. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. So I'm collecting Brett. I'm collecting 69 and also now starting to fill in some holes from my other 70 sets. And the tobacco card bug hit me. I wanted more. So I went home and they had those Beckett books. They came out yearly and they'd have the checklist and prices of the cards. And like for every other set, they show a little picture of a card. Well, they showed a picture of a T205. And that's what got me totally hooked on baseball cards. I'm going to come back here. Let me fast forward to the 90s. I became a huge George Brett collector. Any card issued for George Brett, I had to get. Sort of like John at the Wade Boggs collector. I had to have it. And I would send away in the Sports Collector's Digest. I would look all over shows for any George Brett card. I still was collecting tobacco cards and 1970 cards. But I had a I still do, real good George Brett collection. Then in the 90s, they started having 1 of 10s, very, very hard George Brett cards to collect. They had so many, I just got frustrated. I stopped collecting George Brett and I stopped collecting baseball cards, except for tobacco cards. I always collected tobacco cards. And I got into the 19th century tobacco cards. So I was collecting these for a while, probably until maybe a couple years before COVID. And I don't know why, but I got back into it. And I started picking up any George Brett card I liked. I wasn't concerned about buying every single one of them, just the ones I liked. And today, that's still true. Any new Topps card with a George Brett, or I try to stay away from Panini because I don't like seeing the hats and uniforms without the logo, but I still do pick up a lot of George Brett cards. Of course, I pick up a lot of tobacco cards. I even got into the Victorian ads regarding baseball and non-sports. I also got into non-sport tobacco cards. I have a big collection. And that pretty much sums up me as a collector. Now, let me go back to that Beckett book. I went to the T206 section and I saw all the different T206 cards. I looked at the John McGraw I just picked up. I looked at the Wagner. I was just seeing all the different players. I knew the superstars. I didn't know any of the commons and even the other non-superstars, even Hall of Famers. I didn't know who they were. But that's the whole fun of collecting T206. Looking at these cards, enjoying their beauty, and learning about the players behind it. And that's what I like. And Dan, that's what you do too. And you like to share this story you find of these players behind the cards. Well, back to the Beckett. I looked at T206, and across the page was T205. And I saw this card right here. And this is the card that represents my collection journey. Heavily into tobacco cards. And this is a T205 Hall of Famer, Jimmy Collins. He played for the Boston Red Sox. He was manager of the Boston Red Sox during the 1903 World Series, the very first World Series. This is a Providence Gray card. I'm originally from Rhode Island. No idea this card existed. And it's just beautiful. I mean, look at that green background. For anyone that cares, that's the grade. I don't really care. I just love its beauty. It only has two choices, Hassan or Polar Bear. Has a Hassan. Oh, and by the way, this ain't the card I originally got. I still have the card I originally got, but this is my upgraded version. I fell in love with this set so hard, I now own every single card, every variation except for one. The Habatzel, if that's how you pronounce his name, no stats card. His card's like an era card, comes in 4 different versions. I own 3 of the 4. The 4th is more rarer than a Honest Wagner T206, and it's a 5-figure card that I could never afford. Maybe if I sold every card in my collection except for my T205s, I could cash it in for that Habatzel, then I'll have the whole T205 set. But anyways, I love this card, this set. Ended up collecting the whole set. Ended up driving me deep into the world of tobacco cards. And he was a third baseman and a Hall of Famer. It's like everything I like is in this card from my home state. And Dan, this is the card that represents me in my baseball collecting journey. Congratulations, Dan. Hope you do many more years. Like I said, I love your videos. Please keep doing the history ones. I know you said you don't get many views, but I love them, and I'm sure many other people love them. You can get rid of the videos with that other guy. I don't know why you'd still do that, but the history ones, Dan, and the collaborations, either team or players, still do. So I got to go now. Like I said, it's going to start pouring any minute, but I wanted to make sure I get this info to you, Dan. Oh, and Dan, by the way, if my name, don't even bother to put my name in the contest. I have both the 71 Munson in Topps and Opeachy. So I'd rather go to someone who doesn't own that copy yet. So I just want to do the video for you, not for that card. So I got to go. Bye.